How's everybody doing? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Come on in, come on in. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Today is January 29th, 2024. We're going to do a pilot episode of something that we're working on called the 1 hour cook up. It's a show where we're going to cover business, culture, and business, finance, and culture. Damn, what's that? Yeah, I gotta change that. Business, finance, and culture. So this is a pilot episode. We're gonna test it out, see how it works, see what changes need to be made once we analyze it, and over time, if you follow the channel, anything I do, it just gets better over time. But you got to test things out and kind of jump into the water to see where things need to be corrected. Today, I'm going to cover some current topics. I've bookmarked these topics over the past couple days. I haven't read or really reviewed them because I wanted to do it online so I can get my authentic, I can give you an authentic reaction from actually reviewing it while I'm live. I didn't want to read it and then like pre-rehearse my thoughts and stuff like that. I want you to get uh my genuine thoughts as I cover some of these topics. Thinking about making it daily, but we got to see how that works because I have to carve out enough time to pick the topics, get everything sorted out, and do the actual live. It's going to be an hour. We got the timer set. So we're going to get into it. Just let me know your thoughts. Like I said, it'll get better. We're just testing it out. First thing I want to cover today is this crisis that's going on. We're going to cover it from all aspects over the course of time. I'm probably going to focus more on Chicago and New York because that's what is being affected the most. And obviously, Texas with the governor, Greg Abbott, since he is the person who's sending these migrants all over the place. We're going to get into Tesla today. We are going to take a look at the top 10 stocks. We're going to take a look at the top 10 cryptos. I want to cover uh, U.S. employees being broke, borrowing, can't wait to payday, spending, you know, paying themselves daily and paying those high rates to pay themselves daily. I want to cover a little bit of culture, and we're going to see if we can get it done within the hour. So come on in. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Let's get into it.
The Chicago area facing a two-front battle over Biden's border crisis, a migrant surge coupled with a related rise in retail theft. In the nearby suburb of Oak Brook, Illinois, authorities say 6 migrants from Venezuela and Chile stole more than $10,000 along with merchandise from a Macy's department store. Those thefts happening in 2 separate incidences on the same day. Oak Brook Chief of Police Brian Straukas says it's only part of a growing problem in his community, and he joins us now. Chief, thanks for being with us. We hear from the mayor of Chicago about how this has become a problem in the city of Chicago, but here you are in the suburbs of Chicago seeing the same thing.
Yeah, just to put it in context, Oak Brook is in DuPage County. Chicago's in Cook County. We're about 12 miles due west of Chicago. There's a much different philosophy in terms of policing and prosecution.
All right, so Oak Brook is a suburb outside of Chicago. It's a ritzier suburb. They have a really large shopping mall. To put it into context, a lot of these migrants that have been bused, sent on private jets, put on trains, and sent up here to Chicago are making their way outside of the city to victimize people in the suburbs, rob some of these malls that are in the suburbs, and they're getting caught. They're already doing it here in the city of Chicago. Some of these guys that like Oak Brook has arrested, some of these guys already have ice bracelets on them that they're cutting off the braces. Some bracelets. Some of these guys have already been arrested in the city of Chicago for retail theft. So the situation is getting out of hand. Our mayor recently just had like a panic attack because he's so overwhelmed. But let's continue to watch this story, and then I'm gonna get my thoughts.
In DuPage County versus Cook County. State's Attorney Bob Berlin and his team charges these offenses with burglary most times and files motions to detain. Oftentimes those motions are denied, but they're filing those motions. They're charging these people appropriately and trying to get ahead of this problem.
Let's take a look at what that problem has entailed in your city of Oak Brook. From October 23rd to January 17th, I think we have some we can put up on the screen here. The number of illegal immigrants arrested is at 47. So I'm curious, Chief, like what kind of increase is that from what you've seen in the past?
It's a lot, and it's a definite. Actually, it's at 55 now in that time frame, and that's taxing for any department. Our department is 42 officers sworn, so that's taking officers away from other responsibilities and dedicating them to our retail areas to make sure that we keep those areas safe.
Well, you just brought up retail areas. So what kind of crime are we talking about?
Well, Oak Brook has the second largest shopping center in the state of Illinois. It's a huge economic engine, not only for our village, but also for the state of Illinois. And with this increase of...
So this is the airport. You got migrants standing out at the airport now.
Increase in illegal migrants coming out and committing retail thefts and burglaries. It's definitely putting our department in a position to where we have to respond to this and deal with anything else that we're dealing with on a daily basis. I mean, as you're well aware, there's no lack of crime in the Chicagoland area, but to dedicate a significant amount of resources to protect these areas is...
Those are migrants sleeping on the warming buses like I showed you a few weeks ago.
Is taxing for any police department.
Out of curiosity, I don't know if you have this off the top of your head, but with 55 different arrests, you have some sample size of the illegal immigration issue in Chicago. Where are they coming from?
No, they're definitely coming from Chicago. We're seeing them come out on buses, sometimes in vehicles.
Originally, where are they from? Are they from Central America, Mexico? Where are they from?
Mostly from Venezuela. Most of our arrests are Venezuelan migrants.
That's fascinating.
And what we're seeing too is some of them have been arrested by other agencies in the Chicagoland area. We even had one incident where we searched a vehicle after the arrest, and there was an ICE bracelet in the vehicle that was cut off by the offender that was previously arrested. So this is a real problem, and it's the effects of illegal migrants coming here and exploiting certain elements of this country and not embracing it is certainly felt by agencies, cities, small.
So this is my thoughts, and I'm going to keep it funky, and I'm going to say a lot of things that I know no one else is willing to say or people aren't brave enough to say. And I'm speaking specifically for my city. I can't really speak for New York or LA or Denver. They're starting to wake their way into Detroit. I'm hearing Boston is starting to get some. Now, for my city, we've got hit the hardest, us in New York, right? And obviously, it's become so much of a problem that our mayor is having a panic attack. He's been hospitalized. They're making their way out to the suburb. Here's my thoughts, all right? And I'm gonna be frank. We don't want him here. I don't want him here, all right? Illegal alien, illegal. Keyword illegal, all right? These people aren't being vetted at the border, right? We don't know who these people are. They're coming into our neighborhoods. Our children are at risk. Our women are at risk. We don't want them here, all right? I have no problem with immigration. I have no problem with people who want to come to this country for a better way of life, but there's protocols that are in place so that, people from outside of the United States can come here the correct way. We need to know who these people are when they're coming into the country. They need to be vaccinated. We don't know what they're bringing into the country with them. They're being placed, their children are being placed in our public school system, right? It's stressing out our teachers because these children can't speak English. Our taxes are going up, all right? And then we got this guy, Brandon Johnson, who's a retard, right? And the only thing he has to do is say, you know what, we're no longer a sanctuary city. And then for us, this problem will be resolved. Greg Abbott can send these migrants to other cities, right? All right. Our taxes are going up. They just increased the county bag tax to 10 cents a bag now, right? It's ridiculous that we have to pay for this stuff anyway, but the money has to come from somewhere. We're feeding them. We're housing them up. We're really not housing them. And finally, this guy grew some balls and said, listen, once their, 60 days is up, wherever they're staying at, then that's it. They took a risk crossing these borders, all right? Crossing these borders, not knowing what to expect, all right? So, you know, they feel like we owe them something. We don't owe them anything. I'm not going to cross into another country, you know, willy-nilly, not knowing what to expect, and then expect that country to just, you know, lay down and provide me with food, clothing, and shelter. Listen, we got to cut this shit off. Brandon Johnson, he needs to cut this shit off. Stop accepting them. Stop feeding them. Stop housing them. Drop this shit at 1600 Pennsylvania, whatever the hell address it is. Drop that shit off at the White House's doorstep. Drop this issue off at the White House's doorstep. Eric Adams needs to do the same thing. Kick them out of the Roosevelt Hotel up in New York. Stop housing them. Let them figure this shit out. Spend the money instead of spending the money feed and clothing and shelter. Spend this money. I'm gonna give Eric Adams and I'm gonna give Brandon Johnson the play. I'm gonna give him the play right now. I'm gonna tell you, if I was the mayor, this is what I'd do. Greg Abbott wants to continue to send them to Chicago. You want to spend hundreds of millions of dollars putting them on private jets, putting them on charter buses. This is what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be cheaper for me once they get here to put them on another charter bus and send them straight to Washington, D.C. It's going to be cheaper for me to charter buses and put them straight on buses. So as soon as they get here, take them off one bus. I'm going to put them on another bus, and I'm going to send them to Washington, D.C., and I'm going to drop them. I'm going to have the bus drivers drop them right there in front of the White House and let them deal with it. And this is why this election is important. It's not, to me, it's not about, you know, red or blue, Democrat or Republican. It's about who's going to make the best decisions for the country. All right. Biden has not answered any questions regarding this migrant crisis since it's been going on. Greg Abbott puts up barbed wire. He puts up barricades. He puts up things to stop these illegal aliens from coming in. And the Joe Biden administration tells them to stop. And then they send bulldozers in there to take all the razor wire down. So by him sending the feds in to take these barriers down is letting me know that they want them to continue to come in here, but they haven't given us a reason why. He hasn't even spoke on the topic at all. Venezuela is emptying their jails. They're emptying their jails. They're, you know, hooking these guys up with coyotes that are taking them to the border, and then they're crossing over. And not only do we have South Americans crossing over, you got terrorists probably from other countries, you know, coming over, flying south and crossing the border illegally coming from the South. It's not just South Americans. So the point is, we don't know who's crossing, you know, over the border coming from the South. We don't know who these people are. They're not being vetted. They're not being vetted. So Brandon Johnson, Eric Adams, you guys need to grow some balls. Grow some balls. Stop accepting, because when you accepted them, initially, you didn't know Greg Abbott was just going to continue to dump them on you. See, you accepted them because you thought you were going to get some type of cookie or some type of gold star from Joe Biden, and now he's left you out. You know, he just left you flapping in the wind. He's not even answering your calls. Eric Adams took multiple trips to the White House, and Joe Biden didn't even talk to him. He left him just sitting out there in the waiting room for hours. He's not going to send you guys any aid. He's not going to help you guys. So grow some balls. All right. They're illegal. Illegal aliens. Let them fend for themselves. If they want to cross the border illegally, let them figure it out. It's not being harsh. It's being honest. It's going to cost us money. It's costing us money now. These people, we don't know who these people are. Grow some balls. You black mayors, y'all. Black mayors, grow some balls, stick your chest out, stand up to Biden. Biden doesn't care about you. He's not going to come save you. He's not going to save you. Next topic. Where we want to go? Let's go with Tesla. Let's go with Tesla. Let's go with Tesla.
Today, closing down 12%.
Yeah.
Falling 27% for the year after more than doubling in 2023. One Wall Street analyst labeled the earnings call a train wreck and begged Tesla executives to start acting like children. For more, let's bring in the co-anchor of CNBC's Squawk Box, Andrew Ross-Sorkin. Andrew, I was so surprised by the numbers yesterday because you had a lot of tech stocks doing very well, a lot of other stocks doing well. Yesterday was a really good day for Wall Street, but a terrible day for Tesla. And what jumped out at me was that statement. It said, come on, guys, we need some adults running the place. What in the world happened?
Well, what I think's happening, actually, and to be honest, it's actually a much broader issue than Tesla itself, is we are seeing the beginning of what seemed like a growth market for EVs stall out. And we started to see this even earlier than this because, you know, we saw a lot of other American car makers who had gotten into the
Tesla share.
Oh, damn! I came back. So the reason the Tesla growth market. Hold on, let me.
Very well. A lot of other stocks doing well. Yesterday was a really good day
of what seemed like a growth market.
So the reason why Tesla stocks are stalling out is the same thing that we talk about in other markets. Let's talk about box trucking. You know, during the pandemic, you saw trucking go on a rise, and then once the economy started to go through the correction, trucking just kind of stalled out, right? That popularity was gone. Same thing with the EV market, all right? EVs were the hot thing for a long period of time, and as Tesla built out their brand and built out their fleet, they started with the Model S, then they introduced the Model X, and then they introduced the Model 3, then they introduced the Model Y. Now they're introducing the Cybertruck. Right now they're working on the Model 2, which is going to be a $25,000 model. It's going to be smaller than the Model 3, and this is going to be something that is going to be in direct competition with a Chinese company called BYD that is really putting global pressure on Tesla, because I think they actually have a $10,000 model EV. So the hype is starting to die down. A lot of people bought Teslas over the past couple of years. Last quarter, Tesla sold a little over 500,000 Teslas. The hype is dying down. Everybody that can afford one has already went out and purchased one. A lot of the people that have purchased them due to excitement, a percentage of those people aren't happy due to the infrastructure not being there. People that live in colder markets, when they face their first winter, their first Arctic blast or polar vortex, they see how the battery doesn't perform well. They see the infrastructure doesn't perform well as far as going to supercharge, how much slower it moves, and then the long waits because of the increased amount of people that need to go charge on the daily because the battery is not performing well, which increases long lines. And then you have people waiting in these long lines, and while they're waiting for hours in these long lines, their cars die. And then you have a percentage of people that now want to go back to, gas vehicles. All right. So the hype is starting to die down. If you guys were into stocks in 2020, EV was one of the biggest plays in the stock market during the stock market boom of 2020. If you were in any EV play and you got in early enough, you won. If you got in early enough and you pulled out when you were supposed to pull out, you weren't greedy, you understood that this was inflated. Like I always talk about how I made so much money in CCIV, which is Lucid now. This is before the SPAC merger. There's no way in the world that I should have been able to sell that stock at $58. The Air wasn't even out yet. The Lucid Air wasn't even out yet. But yet and still, I bought that stock at $18 and I sold it at $58 on a Friday. And it dropped that following Monday. It should have never been up that high because they didn't even have a product on the market. It was inflated. It was all off of hype. Same thing here. The hype is starting to die down, right? It's starting to die down, which means the market is leveling out, all right?
For EVs stall out. And we started to see this even earlier than this because, we saw a lot of other American car makers who had gotten into the EV market say that they couldn't sell the cars that they were making. And the pledges they had made around goals of how many cars, EVs they planned to make, they weren't going to hit them. And there was a view that Tesla was going to be, immune from all of this, that Tesla was in its own category. But it is clear that there is a broader issue here from the American public about EVs and just how quickly we're going to see true uptake about these electric vehicles en masse.
Yeah.
I think there's still a lot of, what they call range anxiety. People are worried that, if I buy an EV, there's not going to be an infrastructure. There's not going to be a place to charge it quick enough.
Well,
and I think that's going to become a larger and larger issue as.
And that's true. I always talk about the people having a range anxiety. I don't really go through that. Another thing that I see why I think the EV market is leveling out now is because since the popularity over the last 3 or 4 years and people buying more, the most EVs were sold in the past 3 to 4 years. Prior to the pandemic, you would see a Tesla Model S here and there, but probably within the last 2 years, you've seen a lot more EVs, especially Teslas, than you probably seen in the last 4 or 5 years. It's like automatically you might have saw 1 or 2 every now and again, and then to just seeing every other car was a Tesla, right? So now that these cars are on the road now, and more people are buying them, we're going through a phase where people have had these cars for a few years now. So now are the issues of the battery. The battery, over time, the battery dies down, you lose more and more range, and the battery, to get that battery replaced is expensive. If you've been following the news, Hertz, who purchased a large amount of Teslas 2 years ago, is looking to sell pretty much their entire fleet. They just listed 20,000 of the 50,000 or 60,000, however many that they bought, for sale because they're having a lot of issues with them. They're having a lot of issues with the repair. There's a lot of people, companies that don't want to touch them. I remember I had a flat tire. I had to go to 2 or 3 different tire shops before I actually went to Firestone. That Firestone would plug the tire. The other places did not want to plug the tire in fear of damaging the battery because the battery is underneath the car. They didn't want to place the jack in the wrong place and damage the battery. You're talking about a $15,000, $16,000 battery. 3 places turned me away because they did not want to stick a jack under that car. All right. So, the more people buy them and start to run into issues, the long, over time, that stigma gets placed. And it's not just Tesla. It's the other manufacturers as well. Tesla has the fastest charging, right? Teslas charge faster than other EVs. They have the fastest network, which is, you got people that have the Chevy Bolt or the Chevy Volt, the IQ, the Kia EV6, the Hyundai, whatever it is. These guys are sitting at Electrify America. They're sitting at Charge Point. They're sitting at Blink for a lot longer. The Ford F-150 Lightning, they can only get up to 150 kilowatt hour charge, whereas Tesla supercharger stations, some of them can get up to a 250 kilowatt hour. You don't see many of them. You see more 150 or 72, but the ones that are 250, you can get charged really, really quick, which is why Elon Musk is, he's going to allow Ford and Chevy the adapter so that they can now go and charge at the Tesla charging stations, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for the Tesla owners now, especially the ones that are in markets where they can't just pull in and charge. The ones that have to wait, especially in like a market like I live in, where, when it gets cold, the lines are long with just Tesla owners. Now you're going to have Ford and Chevy people waiting in those lines too, and the infrastructure hasn't gotten any bigger. I haven't seen any new charging stations in over a year because we have a grid issue. All right. So I think because I don't want to spend too much time on this, I think with the fact of, time has gone on and a lot of people have them now. So we see the problems with them. We see the problems with the infrastructure. The word is getting out. The popularity isn't there anymore. More people that were hyped about it that didn't buy these vehicles are getting deterred from buying these vehicles because they're hearing the complaints from people that have been in these vehicles for 2 or 3 years that are looking to get out of these vehicles. Big company like Hertz said, you know what? This has been more of a problem for us than it's helped us. We can't even get the damn brake lights fixed on these vehicles. We're selling majority of our fleet. We won out. This was a bad decision. We lost $250 million. And on the other coin, you got a company like BYD who has taken over the global, as far as making the most money globally for EVs. BYD surpassed Tesla, but they have a better economical option for an electric vehicle. So the Chinese are coming. They're coming. They're eventually going to be able to sell once, certain tariffs and things, get approved. They'll be able to come in, and they have a more economical car than the Tesla Model 3. They have a vehicle that's $10,000. All right. So once they come into the market, that's going to really be Tesla's main competition. It's not going to be Rivian. Tesla's main competition is going to be from a Chinese manufacturer. And more than likely, it's going to be BYD. So there are a few different variables. I just think the thrill is no longer there. The hype is gone. And that's that. So we're not going to spend too much more time on it. I think we plucked out what we needed to pluck out of that. Where we want to go next? Let's go to this story. This is something that I think is very interesting regarding Americans and their pay. I recently found out, no, not recently, maybe a couple years ago, I found out that if you work for like Amazon, like if you work for them directly, like in a warehouse or something, like at the end of your day, Amazon had an app or a partnership with somebody like Branch or one of those companies where at the end of your shift, you could pay yourself, right? A lot of Americans that work for companies where they can pay themselves at the end of the day are doing that, but it comes with a fee. So people are willing to pay a fee to pay themselves at the end of their shifts instead of waiting to the end of the week or waiting bi-weekly to get paid, which lets me know that Americans are broke. They're living above and beyond their means. And, coupling that with what I see with the credit card deficit and, repos being at an all-time high, it's, scary times. But let's listen to this story and I'll give you my thoughts.
Their employer will match. 11% are saving up to this year's employee contribution limit, and 8% just save the automatic default amount set by their employer's plan. Now, in 2023, you can save up to $22,500.
Are Americans about their savings? A new survey reveals most are living paycheck to paycheck. Sharon Epperson is here with more, so not much savings, I guess, to mention, Sharon.
Yeah, that's a big issue for a lot of people. I mean, if you're financially stressed, you're not alone. A new CNBC Your Money survey finds 74% of Americans are stressed about their personal finances. That's up from 70% in our April report conducted by SurveyMonkey. And 37% of respondents say they're very stressed. Among the top stressors are inflation, rising interest rates, and a lack of savings. And of the survey respondents who are employed either full-time or part-time, 41% do not contribute to a 401k or company-based savings account, although the majority, 57%, do. And here's how they're funding that retirement plan. 46% are contributing as much as they can afford. 24% are putting away as much as their employer will match. 11% are saving up to this year's employee contribution limit. And 8% just save the automatic default amount set by their employer's plan. Now, in 2023, you can save up to $22,500 for retirement in a 401k plan. And if you are 50 or older, you can put away an extra $7,500 in catch-up contributions for a total of $30,000. Some plans will let you save even more through after-tax 401k contributions. But the majority of survey respondents, 56%, admit they are not on track with their yearly 401k savings in order to be able to retire comfortably. Tyler?
Very, very interesting. I think the key stressor is inflation.
Yeah.
Because when you look at, and I fault the government, frankly, for this idea of core inflation that takes out core expenses like food and fuel. I think that's...
So here's the thing. As time goes on, things are going to change, all right? And when things change, you got to change with it. The problem that I see is people are living above and beyond their means. If we go through a crisis, an economical crisis, and inflation occurs, that means people need to cut back. People are not cutting back. People aren't cutting back. They're cutting back on things that they shouldn't cut back on, and then they're taking that money and spending it into something that they shouldn't be spending it on instead of just cutting back, period. All right. I think a lot of reasons why people are complaining they're living paycheck to paycheck is because they're living above and beyond their means. So getting back into this story, which is talking about how workers are borrowing or paying themselves early. Workers are paying to get part of their paychecks early. It's payday lending on steroids, one expert says. So basically, millions of Americans are paying for early access to their paychecks. In some cases, it can come with a steep price, so-called earned wage access. I guess that's what the program is called, which operates either directly to the consumer or through employers, lets workers tap a portion of their wages before payday, often for a fee. So basically, you're paying yourself for what you earned that day, and then you're paying a third party to access that money early instead of waiting for payday. It doesn't make any sense to me. The services have ballooned in popularity. While there can be various benefits for consumers, like quick access to funds in the event of emergency, some services share characteristics of high-cost debt, such as payday loans, that can cause financial harm, according to some of the experts and consumer advocates. When used properly, it's great. A banking and technology expert and former senior fellow at Harvard says, however, overuse by consumers and high fees that can translate to interest rates of up to 400% can turn the services into payday lending on steroids. So basically, it's worse than a payday loan. I know Amazon does it. I don't know what other companies do it, but if you're working for a company, and I haven't worked for a company in damn near 20 years. All right. So, these options didn't exist, back when I was in the workforce in the early 2000s. And I know now companies will pay you weekly, if you're not able to tap into whatever you earned that day through one of these third party applications. Back then, the standard was bi-weekly. You got paid every other week, every other Friday. If you had direct deposit, then you'd have access to your money maybe a day or two earlier. As time goes on, people are just continue to live above and beyond their means. As time goes on, things become more expensive. All right, which means you got to cut back. If you're not making set amount of money, then you can't go out and spend more than what you're making. You gotta live beyond your means. Like, never in a million years, if I'm working and I get paid weekly, or if I get paid bi-weekly, and there's an option for me to take out what I earned that same day at 10%, and I do that every single day, how much money am I paying to access my money early? It's better off just to wait. And this is why what they're saying, it becomes worse than a payday loan. Because that option is there and most people are just going to take it. And then they're going to pay that 10% or that 20% or that 50%. I don't know what it is. Maybe someone out there that has a job or maybe works at Amazon can tell me what the rates are for this. But it has to be to the point where it's either excessive, or if it's not excessive as far as the rate is concerned, people are overusing it, which is making it excessive. So even if it's at 5% a day, you times that times 5 days, you're spending 25% a week. If you make $100, you've already spent $25 in fees just to touch your money early instead of waiting till the following week. Now you times that times 4 weeks, times that time 52 weeks out of the year. And this is why it's becoming worse than a payday loan. People have to delay their gratification, make more money, and spend less. So when I see stuff like this, I get excited. I get excited when I see stories like this. Because I know how to sit down. I know how to sit on my hands. I look at stuff like this as something, as a trend that's only going to get worse. And it's going to give me an opportunity to be able to buy what these people are spending their money on stupid shit. And the shit that matters, when they lose it, I'm going to be able to go buy it at a discount. I don't want their cars. I may get into buying their property, but the people who at one point had money invested into paper assets and things like that, they're having to tap into it and sell it. If they were aggressively buying into, let's say, stocks in 2019, 2020, 2021, and they didn't have to go touch it, or stocks that they were investing in prior to the pandemic and they didn't have to go touch it because the world was just liquid during the pandemic, everybody had money, so that money was able to sit and accrue, and they probably invested more into it. Then now we're in a place where they're living or their frivolous habits didn't change when the economy started to shift. Now they're having to go touch that money because it's there and it's available for them to touch so that they can, make ends meet. And the more people that continue to do that, it's going to lower the rates on those things. And a guy like me, I'm just going to go buy it up. So I get excited when I read stories like this. I don't get down and, man, what is the world coming to? I get excited. Because if you don't have the common enough sense to sit on your hands and chill out and delay your gratification, then that's on you. That's on you. I know how to sit on my hands. I know how to sit on my hands. And I think people need to learn how to sit on their hands. So if you're a smart person, you're a smart investor, stories like this should get you excited. They shouldn't get you down. I love reading stories like this. And the more these numbers continue to go up, the more I see that people cannot make it 7 days to payday, the more you're going to see more assets come onto the market, cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And then smart money can continue to buy those assets up because markets are cyclical. I say it all the time. Eventually, we're going to be back into a booming economy. What is going to take us back into a booming economy? I can't answer that. It could be a change in the guard or a change in the presidency. It could be anything. I don't know. But eventually, we're going to get back to that point. And we get back to that point, people are going to be greedy again. And that's when guys like me, who's greedy now because everybody else is fearful and they're spending their money and then they're having to sell off the things that are going to make them money in a long time. That's when I'm going to sell my assets to them at a higher price than what I bought them for now because they're greedy and they're following trends and they're naive. And then I'm going to continue to enrich myself. And then when we go back into a downturn in the economy, that's when they're going to sell that same stuff I sold back to them at a higher price. They're going to end up selling it back to me at a lower price than what I bought it for the first time. I'm going to buy it back from them, and then I'm going to sell it back to them again 4 or 5 years later at even a higher price that I sold it to them the 4 years prior. And that's why you have the haves and you have the have-nots. You want to have a have mentality and not a have-not mentality, because the have-not mentality is going to continue to do stupid shit when they get money. All right? Now let's get into a culture story. We got 23 minutes left, and I think this is a good segue for culture since we're on the topic of money. Let's get into this Gayle King. A specific part of this interview I want to touch on real quick.
Is it difficult to date, like with
well,
where you are?
What's difficult is that people say, "Oh, you're so intimidating." Now, you've met me. Am I intimidating?
Not at all.
Room, am I intimidating? No, the answer. I'll go first. No, I'm not. But somebody said to me once, they said, well, "Gayle, look at your shoes." And I looked at my shoes. What's wrong with my shoes? Look at your bag. Look at your coat. Look at your friends with Oprah. A guy looks at that and goes, "I can't compete with that." But my thing, it's not a matter of competing. I'm not looking for somebody to compete. You want somebody who has a sense of humor, who's very secure, who's not intimidated by whatever all of this is, that just sees you for you. I went on a date and I was really excited, very excited about it. We had gone out.
I think Gayle King is a nice looking older black lady, to be honest with you. If I was like 60 something, I J down on Gayle.
Maybe 2 months, and then he said he really needed to talk to me. He wanted to have a private conversation. Okay, sure. What is it? Do you think you could lend me $4,000? And I'm like, oh God.
So for context, she's dating this guy. She had been dating him for 2 months, and on one of the dates, after just 2 months of dating, he asked her to borrow $4,000.
He jumped out with 4,000 out the gate, though?
I know, it's so
he
funny.
Didn't test the water?
You know what Oprah said? Oprah said, God, I would have felt better if he had said $40,000.
You just went in your purse. Here you go. Here you go. Get out of here.
I don't carry cash.
I don't know. I think some of their jokes be kind of corny, but whatever.
He just asked you to cash app him now.
Huh?
You just could have cashed apped him now.
I know, guys, but I was so crushed because here's somebody who was making, 6 figures, successful. And when I said, could I ask what it's for? He said, yeah, it was for a child support issue and to pay a payment on some furniture. And Oprah goes, oh God, this is just getting worse. And I said, okay. And he said, this was Sunday, and he said, I promise I'll pay you back by Thursday. I promise I'll pay you Thursday, okay. But I wrote it because I thought it had to be very difficult for him to ask me. And so I wrote it, and I just figured that would be that. And he did pay me back on Thursday, but I didn't feel the same. I didn't feel the same. But he did, to his credit, pay me back on Thursday, but it just changed the relationship for me. So in answer to your question, is it difficult to date? Yes, I think so, because I really am attracted to men of color. I just am. I love how a black man says mother baby. Nobody says it like y'all. And I know you'll beep it out. I don't
really say it well, huh?
He doesn't cuss good at all.
Salute to Gayle King, as rich as she is, and she doesn't classify herself as rich, and, just being friends with Oprah, for her to say that she, loves to date black men, I think is dope. But let's talk about real quick, since we're on the culture side right now, that situation at hand where she's out on a date with a guy. She's Gayle King, right? Earlier in this interview, leading up to this, she was talking about how men are intimidated by her. Obviously, she's Gayle King. She's in the media. You see her every day, and the world knows she's best friends with Oprah. So that I can understand how that may be intimidating for some men, and I understand how that may be difficult for her to date, right? Because men are intimidated by her due to her, success and just being, in the media. She's a powerful person. She has a very powerful best friend. But let's talk about this guy. She's on a date. 2 months in, the guy asked her to borrow $4,000. Now, she said that, this guy's a very successful guy. He makes 6 figures. Now, we know without looking at her net worth, I don't know what she's worth, but I know she makes in the millions of dollars a year, right? She's dating a guy that makes 6 figures. I don't care if he's making $100,000. I don't care if he's making $999,000. He's making less than her, right? He asked her to borrow $4,000 on a Sunday. He promised to pay her back that Thursday, 4 or 5 days later. And the reason why he needed to borrow the money was for child support issues and furniture payment. Now, I was trying to figure out, well, one, what would give him the audacity to ask her for money so soon? 2, $4,000 and being able to pay it back 4 or 5 days later. Why didn't you just wait the 4 or 5 days to make the payments that you needed to make? And then I asked one of my homies like what he thought about that, and he brought up something that I didn't even think about. I was kind of dragging him through the mud because I think like, man, that's crazy, bro. You asking this woman for money 2 months in, you successful, whatever. But I think it was a test. I think certain men will test certain women to see that if they were ever in a time of financial strain or financial need, would that woman be there for them? All right. Would that woman be there for them? Now, what makes this dynamic kind of weird and I just can't figure it out is this lady is rich. So I feel like if she loves you, and she's from a different era, she doesn't follow the rules and the laws of a lot of these younger women. You know, these younger women, listen, you coming into the relationship, taking care of them, they're gonna grow to love you based off of what you're doing for them. You could be doing for them for 5 to 10 years. God forbid something happens to you. Your leg gets mutilated. You lose a leg. You lose an arm. You get sick and you're no longer able to work. Whatever you were doing that, you know, you were able to afford to take care of your family and that lifestyle, taking care of her. If you can't do that anymore, majority of these women nowadays in this new culture, all that previous 10 years of everything you did for them, that love is instantly going to be lost. They're going to be out of there. Gayle ain't from that era. So to me, I still can't figure out why this guy asked her that. I guess it was a test, but from him asking her that, it changed the dynamic of how she looked at him, and she speaks
Every
on
time
right
he
here.
cusses, I'll be like, you making us look bad.
No, it's just the way that it's said. I don't even know how to explain it to you.
Like how
It's
do
just-
they say it?
I can't do it. I
Like
can't do
that's
it.
my motherfucking baby.
No. When they call you baby, like,
Oh,
hey
like,
baby.
hey baby.
Yeah, I love how they say hey baby.
Change. What's your hey baby?
It's two separate things. It's not baby. It's two separate things. I love how they say hey baby, how you doing? It's different. It is different. And then how they just say mother. It could be a term of endearment. It could be a term of endearment, or it could be I'm really pissed. But there's something about a black man says it. I'm attracted to that. They gotta have something else too, though.
Yeah, I about to say, I can cuss, Gayle. If you want me to cuss, I'll cuss all day for you.
No, you don't want somebody with a potty mouth, Channing. It's not that. It's not that, but some.
I think this interview showed a different side of Gayle that I'd never seen. She was more relaxed and she was able to let herself go. You see her in more, I guess, more conservative type interviews where she's dealing with a lot of big media people similar to herself, you know, in her realm. So to come down on this podcast with some previous sports guys, it was able to open, like, I would have never known, you know, how she felt about black men. I would have thought just off of what, you know, just my perception of her just from, you know, the interviews she does and hanging out with Oprah, that she would be open to any race. But, you know, her saying that is, you know, making me look at her a lot different.
Sometimes a well delivered curse word is very intelligent to me.
You might want to go to Channing's stand-up. He just started stand-up, and he has this one skit about terms of endearment.
Yeah. Every cuss word you could be said nice or mean. Even bitch is a bad word. Like, nobody wants to be called a bitch.
It is a bad word, yes.
But if you say it certain, hey man, this bitch over here, ha ha ha.
I
Hey,
don't
you
like
raggedy
that.
bitch.
That's two different things.
Two different things.
No, I don't like this bitch over here. No, you lost me with that.
It ain't, so just motherfucker's the one that runs.
Yeah.
I throw
Now,
motherfucker.
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, we
Now, that's good.
You're not
What are you laughing
intimidating.
at? See?
Gayle, you're
There's
not-
just something about the way they say it. I don't know. But what really is.
I think Gayle like when a brother get behind her and grab her neck and pin her down. That's what she's basically trying to say. She's keeping it clean. Gayle is keeping it clean right now. But Gayle, mentally she on some freaky, she want to be dominated by a black man in the bedroom. That's what she basically saying. She just keeping it clean. Let's keep it a buck.
Most attractive to me is a sense of humor, kindness. You always get me with kindness. I like to see how they interact with other people. Somebody you can take to the White House and the backyard
Gayle basically saying she want to be talked dirty to in the bedroom.
barbecue, who fits in with both and is comfortable in their own skin. Intelligence really matters to me. Proper grammar really matters to me.
Gayle want her an intelligent thug. She want her a 60-year-old version of Mark the Mentor. But unfortunately, Gayle, I'm 20-some years.
And somebody that can make you laugh. I got set up on another date. You're like this. The guy said, "Oh man, I'm a really good cook. You know, I want to cook dinner for you. I make a mean shrimp scampi." And I said, "Oh, you mean shrimp scampi?" "No, girl."
Gayle wants somebody that she can take to those parties with Oprah Winfrey, and that's gonna cuss her ass out when she get out of line. Tell her, go sit your ass down somewhere. That's what she want. That's what she telling y'all. She wants somebody that she can take around Oprah and Stedman, that can dress up, that can talk the talk, that she not ashamed, that he not gonna go in that room and not know what to say because he gonna be intimidated. He can go in that room and express himself. He has the vernacular. He can fit in really, really well. But behind him scene, he gonna tell her, shut your ass up. That's what she's saying.
Well, I mean shrimp scampi. And I called my friend and said, "Are you mad at me about something?" He can't even say shrimp scampi. So that was it. That didn't
The scampi might have been running into the shrimp.
Yeah.
And it just made it one word. It was shrimp.
Man, they jokes be so, man.
Shrimp scampi.
That is crazy.
But what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, when we met you at the Fanatics party at the Super Bowl, you weren't intimidating, but we were all like, whoa, that's Gayle King.
I don't understand that. I swear to you, I don't understand that.
No, we were all like that. And when we had an opportunity to sit down for that brief moment,
didn't we have fun?
That was fun. It was a lot of fun. And our takeaway was, man, we got to have a follow-up. And here we are.
Yes. I felt that too because I go, oh, there's the pivot. I know those guys. I felt that too.
We felt like we made it then. That was one of those moments.
That too.
But this is even
She had on a fire jumpsuit too.
Yeah.
There's the pivot.
This is even bigger. And going into sports, you say you're a big.
So I think Gayle King is dope. I saw a different side of her in this interview. Getting back to that topic of the guy asking her for $4,000. I think that was very weird of that guy. I think it was a test. I agree with some people in the chat. I think it was a test, but I think men have to be mindful of the women that they test. Me personally, let's say if I was 60 years old, I don't know how old Gayle is. I would assume she's around 60 years old. That wouldn't be a woman that I would have to test. You know, after 2 months of dating, I would be able to tell if, you know, this is something that, you know, I would want to go forward. And if something were to ever happen to me, would she stay there? I would be able to tell that without having to test it. She's from a different generation. That generation don't get down like that. And then secondly, she's paid up. She's paid up. If I'm making $150,000 and Gayle is making multi-millions, that's not something that would even be in my, like, I wouldn't even be thinking about shit like that. So I don't even know why this guy even tested her. You gonna level up because you with her. She's gonna level you up. Just being able to move and shake in the rooms that she's able to move and shake in, you are now able to put yourself in a better position just by being a joint at the hip with her. So, like, why would he even test her? The more I think about it, it definitely had to be a test because he paid her back 4 days later. So he really didn't need the money. I think it was some sucker shit. I think a lot of guys need to, you know, get out of their feelings. They need to stop worrying about the wrong thing. This is a situation he could have leveraged himself in, you know what I'm saying? And I think he fumbled it. He didn't fumble the bag. He fumbled the opportunity. If I was that guy and I'm dating Gayle and I'm feeling her and she feeling me, and, you know, maybe after a year she puts me in that room with, you know, this person and that person, and I know I'm full of ideas and I'm smart, the more people that I can get around that are doing way better than me, and I get to get in these rooms with these people and just be able to eavesdrop and listen and network, man, dude, you tweaking. I gotta hit the tweaking button. For whoever buddy was, you tweaking. That test was lame. You shouldn't have did it. It was a sucker move, and you definitely fumbled, you know, your opportunity. So it is what it is. Pippi says women love corny. I think Gayle, basically what she was saying is she wants an intelligent thug. I think, like I said, she wants that guy that she's able to put in a room with Oprah and Stedman. They can go out on double dates, and he's not going to be sitting there. He's not going to be the awkward person sitting at the table because he can't follow the conversation, right? Because you got three powerful people, You know, Stedman is powerful. He's been with Oprah for years. So he's been around. He's been in these rooms. He's definitely a powerful person, even though he's quiet. You know what I'm saying? So he, she doesn't want the person who doesn't fit in. He's not going to be sitting at the table all quiet and silent and antisocial because he just doesn't follow the conversation. She wants that guy that can follow the conversation, who can mix and mingle in the rooms that she puts him in. But then behind the scenes, Gayle wants that thug. She wants that intelligent thug. And I think that's what she was trying to articulate, in this conversation. I think it was a dope conversation. I think it showed me a different side of Gayle. I like Gayle now. I think Gayle is dope. I like Gayle. But man, this is the first episode. Man, this was a pilot episode. We're going to look at this episode, me and the team, and analyze what we could do better, what we need to change, how to dress it up. I think we're going to try to make this into a daily morning show, but we'll see. We're gonna continue to test it out, and see what works, see what doesn't work, see if we want to do it live, see if we want to pre-record it. Just continue to dive in some different topics to kind of tie things in, because box trucking, cargo van, semi-trucking, it's fine. It's good for active income, but everything ties in. You got to know about other businesses. A lot of, other industries affect what is going on in trucking. You got to know about financing, because this is how you're going to be able to glow up, as the younger generation would say. Like, long are the days of being able to go work one job and being able to take care of your family. Those days are over. You got people, as we see here, that are working daily that can't even wait to payday. They can't wait to payday. They got to cash out at the end of the day. And because they're so much of a bind to cash out, they're willing to pay a percentage to get their money early. People can't even wait weekly or bi-weekly to get paid anymore. People are having to have a multitude of multi-streams of income to be able to survive. All right. But you shouldn't have to go out and work. If you can work one job or one career actively and take a small portion of that active income and invest it into things over a period of time that can give you passive income, you can enjoy life without having to work here 8 hours and then get in the car and change uniforms while you're on the way from one job to another just to go work there 4 hours, just to go home and sleep for 3 or 4 hours just to get back up and do this shit all over again. And then when you retire from your main job, now you got to go be a security guard and sit at a desk from 55, well, shit, not even 55. That's not even the retirement age. Retirement age now is 65, but now they talking about the new retirement age going to be 72. Now you got to go sit at somebody's desk overnight or sit in some luxury high-rise building while some snotty-nosed crypto millionaire is 22 years old, walks past you and shits on you every day. And here you are, 72 years old. You've been working since you was 18 and you still having to work. You don't want to be like that. So all this shit ties in, all right? So that you can, work, a short amount of numbers and live more of your life free. So we're going to look at this episode and see what changes we need to make. Until next time, guys, I'm out.